I'm Toby Hunter, and this is my 4.1 presentation. So there's been history with experiments and research which have led to the ethics and legal rules that are in place today. So one of the first sort of experimentations that led to these rules being put in place was the Nazi experiments. So in the concentration camps in World War II in 1947, the Nazis conducted a lot of experiments, including bone, muscle, and nerve transplantations, freezing experiments, head injury experiments, which were obviously non-consensual and uh, caused a lot of physical, emotional, social harm for all of the participants involved. And these experiments were later reviewed, and the Nuremberg Code was then devised, which is some laws and regulations regarding ethical and legal issues which came from the Nazi experimentation. Zimbardo and Milgram were two researchers that also conducted their own experiments. Zimbardo did a prison experiment in the 1970s where he got some volunteers, young volunteers, and split half of them into being prison guards and half of them into being prisoners, and tried to look at the how they changed according to what role they had. And this had to be stopped very quickly because of the physical abuse that the guards started giving to the prisoners, and this was also looked at after, and some more rules were put in place, or that researchers in the future will have to look at in order to stop this sort of thing happening again. And Milgram looked at the obedience and authority of participants when looking at them giving a volt to a test to a participant in a test, and seeing how far they would go without it, how far they would go with it, whether they would ask to tell the scientist to stop, or if they'll just carry on until the very end, in the end offering very high voltage. And BASIS, this is the professional body for sport and exercise science research, so they will basically monitor all the ethics in all the research, make sure everything is going well, and they'll offer out accreditation to researchers that abide by all the ethic and legal codes, which is a really good thing to have as a researcher, because it shows that you are ethical and you're abiding by laws. These are all the ethical and legal issues, so all of these needed to be looked by every single researcher. They need to ensure that they're abiding by all of these before they carry out their research. If one of these aren't in place, or they're not following them correctly, then there can be consequences, and these are some of the consequences that can occur. So there might be ethical training. If it's not very severe, they might have to go on a training course to make sure that they're ethical with their research in the future. If it is very severe, there'll be law prison sentences. If they've broken the law, they've done something really bad, they might be reprimanded or suspended from researching in the future. For the participant, there might be emotional or physical harm if one of these ethics aren't abided by. There might be fines put in place. They might lose their professional and research credibility, which might lead to them losing their job or even their whole career. And if they had been given BASIS accreditation, that might be taken away. So my first scenario is a gymnastics teacher wants to test the flexibility of his students aged 10 to 16, and how different stretches affect the flexibility of his students. He's going to use his class in his next session to conduct the research. He's going to ask the top students from his class to help him conduct the research, and whilst they're carrying out the research, he's going to attend to the other students in the class and do a class with them. First of all, they're aged 10 to 16, so they will need consent. So it'll be really good to have some informed consent from the adults telling them what's going to happen, and how they can withdraw whenever they want. Volunteers. He is using his class tomorrow, so it's not really volunteers, so that's bad practice. All participants in a research experiment should be volunteers. They should have volunteered to do it. They shouldn't be made to do anything. He's asking his top students from the class, which is this is not abiding by the ethic of equality. So he needs to give all students in his class an equal opportunity. He should be completely objective with who he chooses to carry out the experiments, and he is leaving the participants whilst they're carrying out the research, which is a bad practice of research responsibility. So this is where the researcher has to be monitoring everything that the participants do, helping out, trying to reduce all the risks possible. Because he's not doing this, there could be quite some physical harm to the participants. They might do something wrong and he's not there to stop it. He might have to go on some ethical training, because it might not be severe, so ethical training just to teach him how to be there properly and how to conduct proper research. Or he might be reprimanded or suspended from maybe being a gym teacher or maybe conducting this sort of research in the future. Scenario 2 is a sports science researcher is going to conduct some research on the effectiveness of different temperatures in an ice bath on recovery from maximal exercise with gymnasts aged 18 plus. He's planned his research and he's going to send it off to be checked by and cleared. In his briefing with the volunteers, he told them about all the risks of the research and how he is going to avoid them as much as possible. He didn't tell them the exact temperatures he'll be using, but told them that they can stop when they want. So first of all, the risks-benefits analysis. This could be quite a dangerous research project if they're using severe temperatures. So he needs to look at whether the risks of the experiment outweigh the benefits of the results, whether he'll be able to do really good things with the results of his experiments. But if not, if the risks are greater, then he shouldn't carry out the experiment. He's getting ethical clearance. So his research may be looked at by BASIS or a committee like the Institutional and Ethical Clearance Committee. Health and safety. So he's briefing all the volunteers about all of anything that could go wrong, which is a good practice of health and safety. So he's telling them what could go wrong, and he's also telling them how they can avoid it, how he'll try and avoid it, showing that he'll be in control of, or showing that he's in charge of the participants before, during and after the research, which is part of health and safety. There's some emission deception there, which is bad practice, because he didn't tell them the exact temperatures. That's leaving something out. That's what emission deception is. It's not telling them all the information. It's different from commission deception, which is where they tell them something that isn't true. So if he told them temperatures that he's going to use, but they aren't actually the temperatures, that would be commission deception. So yeah, that's emission deception is bad practice. And he said they have the right to withdraw, which is good. It's part of informed consent, telling them that they have the right to withdraw. If these things did go wrong, so if the risks did outweigh the benefits, then that could lead to physical and emotional harm from the participants. The ice might hurt them physically or emotionally. They might get scarred. They might not want to do research again, and he might get fined for not being ethical. Scenario 3 is a BASIS accredited sports scientist wants to conduct research of the effect of exercise and training on oxygen supply from red blood cells using gymnasts 18 plus. This requires participants to give blood prior and post exercise. The researcher needs to know about any issues that may influence the results of the tests or may change the results in any way. She is going to post the results of the test on his public website, her public website, so she can compare the past results easily. So his base is accredited, which is a good practice. It shows that he's done good research in the past, which is good practice. He's doing a health and medical screening questionnaire, which is good practice as well. It's very useful information, very important information. So he knows if one of their health and medical issues goes wrong, he can research that and knows how to prevent it. And it also helps him with his results. It shows if he knows something that might influence his results, he can maybe discard that result or add it into his research as a outlier. Confidentiality and anonymity. It's bad practice of this. He's posting on a public website. It's bad practice of confidentiality. All results should be kept confidential. He shouldn't share it with anyone unless without consent, unless the test results are anonymous. So if there's no name to it, then yeah. And it's also data protection. If it's on a public website, anyone can access this and anyone can take it and use it for their own stuff or do whatever they want with it. That's data protection. This can affect his professional research or research credibility. She, because she's posted all these results online, she might lose her credibility, and along with this, her basis accreditation might be lost because she's not being ethical with her research. Scenario 4 is research with young female gymnasts into how P&F stretches can improve recovery from training sessions. A male researcher will be conducting P&F stretches on various gymnasts in his class and will look at their flexibility in the next session. The participants are not aware of what is going to happen as they enter the session. So, informed consent, volunteering, they're not aware, there's been no briefing, so no participant disclaimer. They have no clue what's going on, they've been forced into it, it's not like they've volunteered to do it. And if something goes wrong, because they haven't had informed consent and they haven't signed, or the parents haven't signed to say he's allowed to do this, there could be legal issues with this, and it could lead to prison sentences in major cases if the parents are unhappy with what he's doing. Could also lead to physical harm from the gymnasts if they're not aware of what they're meant to be doing or not aware of what they've been asked to do. There could be physical harm, and there can also be fines for the researcher.